face going on? Was that him last time?
Okay, so I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting. And we are attempting again to live stream this to YouTube. If you are viewing it on YouTube, be aware that there is a delay in the audio, so you'll probably, especially if you want to be in the discussion, you'll probably want to mute your audio from the YouTube live stream and use the Zoom audio. The other thing is, we are aware that if you go back and view the YouTube video, which will be available after the meeting, there is an echo in there. I don't know of any way to get rid of the echo. I'm not going to go into the technical details now, but if you have any questions, please email me, and I'd be happy to explain why there's an echo, and if you know of any way to fix it, I'd be happy to hear that. In any case, we are also sharing the slides using Stereoscopic Rooms. So you can view the content either using Stereoscopic Rooms in your choice of viewing format, or if you have a Lume Pad or a 3D TV, you can view the photos using the YouTube live stream. And thanks to Ken, who put the links for both Stereoscopic Rooms and the YouTube live stream in the chat. Anyway, without further ado, I'd like to get started. The theme for this evening is architecture. I was very happy to see that we had many people contribute, so I think we'll have an interesting meeting. And then there are several eclipse photos that people have shared in the open projector. So I think that should be interesting too. This is our annual meeting and elections of officers. I don't think that's going to take very much time, because I don't think there's a lot of competition for people who want to put in all the work that it takes to run the club. Anyway, moving on, like to start out with David's architecture images. So David, certainly feel free to comment on any of the images.
I didn't take a lot of architecture pictures, so I had to browse through a lot of them. Here's something where they needed a little more architecture way back in the 1800s. Didn't last very long. Oh, and here's a barn. A barn that needs some architecture too. There's nothing there anymore because that picture is about 25 years old. It's a parking lot for the buses now. Here's an old grain cellar in Utah, and like I say, it's nothing much but just what the basic architecture of it is. It's kind of abandoned. Oh, and you know what that is? That's a Multnomah Falls Bridge.
Yeah.
I think there's good architecture holding that up because it's been there for many years.
And actually, Multnomah Falls is one of the tallest falls. Is it the tallest west of the Rockies? I'm not sure. I think it may be one of them.
I don't know.
It's often cited as like 600 feet, I think. Which is similar to the Space Needle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've been to the top of it. I have, anyway. Oh, and here's St. John's Bridge, and the next one kind of shows what the architecture about the St. John's Bridge is. and there's one of the pillars that's holding that thing up.
Wow.
And hopefully we won't have any big ships running into that pillar.
No, they probably won't knock down the bridge. They'll crunch it on the ship. Anyway, that's the pillars of the St.
Well,
Thomas.
I think they'd probably dredge out the river if they tried to come down this, because I don't think it's probably deep enough for those large ships.
Not those kind of ships, no. Don, this is the only architecture of the city I could find. I don't know what building that is, nor where it is. It's pointing south, a reflection of that building.
That's the Coin Tower.
Coin Tower?
Koin, yeah.
Yeah, so for those out of town, KOIN is one of the TV stations. Is that the CBS affiliate? I'm not
I think
sure.
it's NBC.
I don't know.
No, NBC is 8.
What is Koin? But it's been a while since I watched broadcast
Yeah.
TV.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm certainly not an authority, but
Anyway, that's the closest I could come to a architecture in a city. And here, if you want to add a second floor to the building, you just get a great big crane and lift it up and start adding architecture underneath the building.
Huh.
And this was just amazing to me. That was someplace in Maryland, and that was an old top of a pillar, and I just can't imagine how they built that, whether it's concrete or carved rock or what, but it's just, the detail is just mind-blowing in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's raw architecture.
yeah, well, if I had to make a guess, and I'm probably not a very good guesser, they probably created something, and I'll use as an example plaster to mold it,
Yeah.
and then poured the concrete in, because then the plaster, you can just blast water at it and the plaster will all wash away.
Yeah.
And so you can make different pieces for the different columns. I mean, but I don't know, maybe somebody else knows more about making concrete.
Yeah,
like
very
that.
ornate.
And this is the inside of the Washington Monument. And they told us that the Washington Monument is only held up by those rocks that hang over and set on the next block up. And I'm sure they've got some way to glue it all together horizontally, but all the weight is supported by those out what do you call it, rocks sticking out and setting on the other rocks.
Edges, huh?
Okay, well, it wouldn't work well in an earthquake zone. But,
No. Anyway, that's architecture in my opinion.
Okay.
And I thought this guy needed a little more architecture, so I threw it in. Just a tree house up by one of them.
Yeah.
Where is it? Up by, that big, I can't think of the
Near
name
your
of it.
house?
Pardon?
Is it near your house?
No, it's up in the top of the mountain by the old newspaper house up there, where the
Pittock
Pittock Mansion. Yeah, it's right by the Pittock Mansion. Anyway. That's it.
Okay, well, thank you,
Yeah.
David.
Cool.
And Matt.
Hello all. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're coming in
Fantastic,
very
okay.
well.
Good evening. So let's see. What do we have up right now? The title of this one is it's very descriptive. View of 345 California Street from Battery and Halleck Alley. The building subject is 345 California Street. I showed this a couple weeks ago at the Golden Gate Stereoscopic Society, so for some people here I know this is old news. This is a smartphone cha-cha. I've been shooting into the light. That's been a technique I've been having a lot of fun with, and the results were unexpected, but I think it's got that nice quality to it, the light coming out from the spires of those buildings.
Yeah, it works well. I think you might have been trying to practice for an eclipse.
It kind of is an eclipse. It's a building eclipse. And this next one is actually, I would say, more of a cityscape than an architecture shot, but there's a lot of architecture in it. I kind of wanted to show it because you can see 345 California Street in it, in the lower right-hand area of the image. So if you know downtown San Francisco, which is what this shows, this is the financial district with the Embarcadero and Fisherman's Wharf behind it. And that triangular building is the Transamerica Pyramid. I shot this as the passenger of a small plane. Great experience, terrible experience. I got really airsick, but got a great photo. And I showed this one in the 2024 Southern Cross, and it was accepted, which is about as good as I ever do. So thank you to the Southern Cross.
I've been at that tower and that lighthouse in the back with my kids.
Oh yeah, I've been there too. Yeah.
Yes, that's a quaint tower in the back. You've got to go to the very top to see the views now. As you can see, the parking lot is too overgrown to get the free views. And next, this is a different city. This is downtown Oakland from Frank Ogawa Plaza. This is another smartphone cha-cha I took on my way to the office one morning. And the quality of the light and the reflection off that building. In this image, as well as the one I took from 345 California Street, the smartphones did all the color fixing and processing kind of automatically. I didn't really need to run these through Photoshop. I just aligned them in Stereo Photo Maker. Something I'll point out in this one, I've gotten really just too lazy to clone out airs in my stereo photos, and there was a moving person in this cha-cha. And if you might notice, there's a kind of a black monolith in the lower left-hand corner. And that's what I do now. I just cover up I just obscure the motion, and I find that if I set it back in space, it just disappears. It becomes invisible. If you look at this as a 2D picture, it's really obvious that I've just masked some things. So that's a technique I'm happy to share with you.
That's an interesting technique. I like the way it worked.
I use it all the time.
You also notice that the clouds in a cha-cha always show in the wrong place. The clouds at the top of the building look like they're in front of the building.
Yeah.
It's very perceptive. Yes, there is that air. And I decided clouds, I'll just let them be.
Let them be.
Okay,
good catch.
So one technique to keep in mind. My habit is always to start with a left-right when I'm doing a cha-cha. But if clouds are moving, what you can do is left, right, left, and then if the clouds are in the wrong place, use the right and the left. The left will be afterwards instead of before, so the clouds will have moved the other way.
Hey, pretty clever. Thank you.
That's a great tip. Yeah, I should have done that here.
Well, that's why you come to meetings, to hear ideas and learn things. So I'm glad I could give you an idea. And if you get in the habit of doing that left, right, left, you never know when it might come in handy.
Yeah, make it a habit.
Anyway, I love that shot.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very nice.
Timing is everything. This one. That's the Oakland Tribune building, the building to the right in the background with the pyramid-shaped top, the clock tower. I don't really know the names of the other buildings in this image. I guess I should have written those down.
Looks like the clocks show different time.
Yes. Well, the Oakland Tribune hasn't been printed for many years now.
Huh. Oh yeah.
Nice mix of
old and new architecture there. It is, yeah. You know, downtown Oakland, for architecture as a subject, it has some fantastic buildings to photograph. In terms of using the black slab, I think that's what Stanley Kubrick did in 2001. Ended up just incorporating it into the script. Yeah, I guess I can't take full credit for it. It's there, it exists.
Well, you need to call it an obelisk instead of a square, and then...
I guess it also depends on the shape of the subject. So I put in squares, and anyway, you'll see more of these. My final image is just kind of resembles architecture. I think this one, I put in this one more for the humor than anything else. This is the metal stock rack at Home Depot, and I thought it had an architectural quality. It looked like a city hyper there for a brief second. Yeah, it's great. Smartphone cha-cha.
And no problem with clouds.
That's right. That's right. I think all of these images tonight, yeah, I ran them through Stereo Photomaker, did the alignment and a little bit of cropping, and that's all the work I did on them.
Okay, and Robert.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so feel free to comment.
Oh, you're going to show some of mine?
Yeah, the first one is up there.
Oh, okay. I have a little delay. I've got it on my Lume Pad here.
Okay. So, yeah, the Lume Pad, you get great 3D with the delay.
Yeah, right. Well, I thought I'd follow up on the other shots of San Francisco here, so you'll see a lot of repetition. On Matt's. This is just considered as a close-up view of Matt's last shot of Coit Tower there. And from a different angle, too. Right, this I shot out of a helicopter. I was hired to do a series of lenticular 3Ds of the San Francisco area. Oh, there we go. Again, I've shown some of these in Golden Gate Stereo Club and also in various competitions, so they may be familiar to people.
Do I see clouds below there?
Yes, yeah. This is Newt descending a staircase. And it was shot several years ago, so I think it was shot with, could have been a twin rig, probably my Sony P200 twin rig that Ekron made. And then I just added the Newt and the clouds. But everything else is as it was in the hotel. This was a back stairway.
Above the clouds?
Yes, right. The clouds weren't there. I added those.
Oh, okay. I love it.
Do you remember what hotel this was?
I don't. I probably... my wife Marilyn is the keeper of the memories and all of the trips, so I'd have to double check.
I remember seeing this one here.
Yeah, that is
nice. Yeah, I like stairwells, as I think most stereo photographers do. This was my favorite stairwell of all time. This was shot at St. Paul's Cathedral in London. We were taking a little behind-the-scenes tour, and our guide was taking us up the back stairwell, and I looked up, and it just looked like I couldn't pass it up for 3D. And then when I mirrored it, the owl appeared.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you've got the highlights on the owl's pupils.
I consider that my moment of genius, adding the highlight in the eyeballs, which brings it to life a little bit.
But I just love the way that shaft of light, when mirrored, created that nose, the beak. And again, following in Matt's footsteps, this is downtown San Francisco. This is the Salesforce Plaza building or the Transit Center. I'm not sure what to call it. But it has a wonderful roof garden and just some amazing metal filigree there on that front panel.
And the timing of getting that plane overhead was perfect.
Well, truth in advertising, the plane was not there. That's my one sheet on this one. I had to
hey, come on,
put
you
it
gotta
up there.
do that sometimes.
Yeah. It works without it, but I just like the way it echoes some of the lines.
Well, it's the one thing about the plane is you can sense its location. It's not at infinity. It's not quite at infinity.
Right. That was the big thing. I didn't quite know how large to make it believable. I wanted it to have depth, not put it way in infinity, but it's buzzing the city closer than it should, probably.
Yeah.
Coming in for a landing.
It hauntingly looks like 9/11 to me, that plate.
Yeah, it does have that, just the angles and that kind of twin towers in the background.
As an architectural shot, I love the contrast between the curves and the straight lines of the more traditional structures in front and behind it. As a middle ground feature, it just works so well.
And this was a Cha-Cha. I'm pretty sure I took this with the my Sony A7C. And then I did a lot of cloning.
Yeah, I like that bridge hanging out there, about ready to dump on my feet.
Yeah, it was a little tricky. I mean, I'm getting, especially on the Lume Pad, there's a lot of ghosting, but I still think it works. And I got rid of a few people who were on the bridge and just left the one woman
That's what
entering the city.
Yeah, so on the 3D TV, it looks great. We don't see any ghosting at all.
Oh, good. Yeah, this is the town of Chesky Krumlov, which is where the ISU was held. It's now 3 ISUs ago? No, 2.
looks like you pushed the color, Sue.
Oh, it's pretty close. I did boost the color a little bit, but it's a fairy tale town. It just looks like something that Disney would have built in a back lot.
Yeah.
But there were problems, with the water in the stream there. I had to cut and paste a lot. And I think there was a tree sticking out and breaking the window in the lower left, which I cloned out as well. And this is in the Angkor complex in Cambodia. This is Ta Prohm Temple. It's the reason I ended up going to Cambodia. So I saw someone's, it was actually a 3D image that someone had projected many years ago that they had taken there, and it was just in one of the temples with this tree growing, the fig tree growing over the ruins. And the fact that neither could exist without the other. The tree needed the buildings, and the buildings needed the tree to stay together.
A happy coincidence.
Yeah.
Great contrast of architectural and organic.
Mm-hmm. And the sky on this one, the only thing I really did, other than some cloning to eliminate anomalies, the sky was very bright and kind of blown out, so I toned it down a bit. And this is in Italy. It's a wonderful place built by a lady artist, Nikki Sanfal. It's a Tarot garden, and it just has some amazing structures. Sometime I might do a show on it. But this is just one. I forget the tarot card, but it's
Oh,
the Fallen Tower.
yeah. Probably the tower, yeah.
Okay, and then we have some from Carl.
So all of my shots are with the Fuji FinePix W3 without any touch-ups or anything, and this was from some pictures I took back in February during a sunbreak. This is also in the Lloyd Center. There is like in the upper corners, there's like on the upper right corner, there's a little area there where one image has the beam and the other one doesn't.
I don't see it. Upper right?
Yeah, in the upper, in the very corner.
In the left
there.
eye it's there, and the right eye it's not there.
Oh, yeah, but oh well.
Yeah, well,
It's like looking at a window.
I was trying to line up the central dark lights.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it was very bright, so I couldn't really see the screen very well. So so that's that.
Sometimes we forget the Lloyd Center is still there.
I know. Nobody was in that picture, right? Yeah. So this was in March. I went out to near Bend, and this is up on Mount Bachelor, and I just liked the shape of this building. And I just asked my wife yesterday, what actually is this thing? And it's a magic carpet, like for a kid's ski slope. And there's a conveyor belt inside that.
Okay, I've seen those things, but not in those.
With like the tunnel, to protect from the snow. And apparently, I heard that there's a longer one somewhere off there to the left and behind me. So. But yeah, it was snowing really hard, and the snow was actually really close to the camera, so you can get some of that stippling effect, which I feel is okay.
It's tough to get that.
That worked great.
I get a nice through the window effect of that snow on the Lume Pad.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I love the little touches of color in the shot. Oh, nice.
Okay, and Bob.
Hi guys, I went to the NSA convention last year in Buffalo. They had a lot of nice Art Nouveau buildings there. This is the outside of the City Hall, just one of the little decorations they had on the outside. This is a door handle for the electric building in Buffalo. The building looks just like that. Pretty fancy door handle. This is the an upper floor called the Biosphere. This is in Montreal, Canada. Just like the lines and the curves there.
Yeah. Wow.
This is the Biosphere in Montreal. It was the U.S. Pavilion during Expo 67 up there, and now it's a environmental museum.
So that's all sealed off?
Sealed off? No, it's open air. The sphere is. There's another shot coming up. I'll show you. I showed you some of the how it's put together. Pretty complicated in some areas. This is called the Habitat 67. It was built during that fair. There's 354 modular units that got stacked piggly on top of each other, and it makes 148 residences. Pretty modern and minimalistic at the same time.
Interesting architecture.
Wow.
That is architecture, yeah. Ooh.
This is the National Archive building in Montreal. I like the spiral staircase over in the corner.
Yeah, normally you don't get to see it, only by walking it, but you can see it from here.
I just like the orange accents on this building, so I took a picture of it.
It's interesting, they look bright red on the TV.
Yeah, maybe they're red. This is the convention center in Montreal. Kind of got colored glass panels on one side of the building.
So that building behind the glasses is a building back there?
There's a building like across the street in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
So the colors,
That's great.
yeah, the colors kind of make it hard to see that it's a building. But when you ignore the colors, yeah, there it is.
And this is kind of a strange deal. It's in called the World Trade Center building. It looks like it's outside almost, but it's in this huge building. You know, they built this reflecting pool. Why, I don't know, but it sure attracts a lot of people. You can kind of see a couple of little gals there to the right. Somebody's doing a photo shoot with Japanese gals in some kind of wild outfit. But I could sneak a picture in between their photo shoot.
Oh yeah.
Get some nice light quality on that.
This
This
is
is reflection too.
This is Montreal too. They Paris sent one of their subway entrances to Montreal as a sign of friendship. And this is Casa Mia in Barcelona. This is a gaudy architectural building. The locals call it the quarry because it looks like stone with curves in it. This was kind of done at the height of his powers of architecture back in 1912.
Wow.
So is this concrete or what? Do you know what it is?
It's blocks of something. I don't quite remember.
Huh.
They had to make the curves in it and then lift it up.
Oh.
Yeah, Casa Mia means my house.
Yeah. It was built as a guy's house, rich guy, and he was going to rent out the upper floors to people. All those on the balcony, you see the ironwork. Those are all unique pieces of ironwork for each of the houses up there.
Wow.
Part of the tour, you go up in the attic. This is the attic showing some of the construction. It kind of looks like a palm tree or something to me. I don't know.
It's kind of hard to look at.
Yeah.
I think Gaudi was killed in crossing the road, apparently. I mean, it makes sense that he would be killed that way, because he and lights don't get together, and I don't think he owned a ruler, straight ruler.
Probably not.
It is interesting stuff. Great pictures.
So this last one is what he's really famous for. This is the roof of that building, and he decorated the chimneys with all these different figures. I think it was the inspiration for Star Wars, maybe.
That's a lot of chimneys.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of residences there.
Okay, and Dennis. Is Dennis here? Maybe Dennis isn't here. Okay. No? I guess Dennis didn't join the meeting, but Dennis did send some photos, so we'll get just
Note the clouds.
Looks like he did a lot of photoshopping on that.
Or the clouds cooperated.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this was his trip to Ireland.
Yeah, I think I've seen this before. I'm not sure if he entered this in an exhibition.
Yeah, there's some similar images in the exhibition, I think, or similar landscapes anyway.
Similar architecture.
Yeah.
Need some curtains on that.
Or not. I mean, depends if you, you know.
If you're looking in, looking out, or don't want anybody to look in. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's darker inside, so like during the day, probably people can't see in because they probably just see reflections. But at night, you might want to be a bit more discreet.
So in Holland, there's a tradition where people leave their curtains open, and it's to show that they have nothing to hide. It's a cultural thing in Holland. I don't know if probably some other parts of the world too, where they think if you have curtains and your curtains are closed, you must be hiding something in there.
Hmm.
I was wondering if this was Holland. Steve, does it look like Amsterdam to you?
No, it looks more like Harlem, but it doesn't actually look like Holland, because if you look at the distance, there's a hill, and that's very rare in Holland.
Yeah. Oh.
That's great.
Took a moment, but I got it.
That'd be a real good card, but it's a little disparate for a big TV like this. Yeah, we'd like to know how he did that. I'm sure it's a lot of photoshopping, but pretty good job.
Yeah, interesting. I've never been overseas to see things like that.
I think that might be photoshopped as well.
Kind of looks like
Several
it, but
buildings put together, maybe.
it's hard to tell.
The light colored one next to the, I mean, who knows?
Great texture in this one.
Yeah.
Old in the new.
Too bad he's not here to tell us about them. They're interesting. Where they are and all.
Quite a image.
It's got to be the Midwest. Nobody has teepees in the rest of the world that I know of, anyway. There we go. Rotate it around to point to the wind.
That's quite a contraption to allow it to rotate.
You think somebody?
I believe that's a Spanish windmill, not a Dutch windmill.
Why do you say that? I mean, I don't have any.
Just because of the design and the way that it turns with the wheel like that.
Oh, okay.
That's a Spanish thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and Ken.
Okay, this is kind of a walking tour around Taliesin West, which is just outside of Scottsdale, Arizona. Taliesin West was the winter home studio for Frank Lloyd Wright and the Taliesin Fellowship from 1937 until 1959. You can see the emblem there. That was one of Frank Lloyd Wright's favorite. It was the square within the square. This is a view along the walkway in front of the main structure. A lot of triangles were used in the complex, and they reflect the surrounding mountain range. And the complex was constructed to be part of the natural landscape. This was the organic philosophy of Wright. I think Matt had mentioned organic construction. The building materials were desert rubble stone from the surrounding area and concrete. They initially used white linen canvas and redwood frames, but later those were replaced by fiberglass and steel. And this is just a closer look at the stonework and the fountain. In the front, that's a triangular pool. Can't really tell that it's triangular, but it is. Now, the boulder in the front was excavated on site and preserved and incorporated into the design by Wright. There's petrographs on the side of the boulder, which don't show up in this picture, but a later picture has another boulder in the back of the structure, and that'll show the petroglyphs. To the left of the doors is the drafting area and workshop, and to the right are the kitchen, dining room, bedrooms, offices.
Almost looks like those rocks were stuck in the concrete forms, and the concrete didn't, you know, it's really weird. The concrete is over the rocks.
Yeah, they found the rocks, and they said typically the rocks have one flat side, and that was the side that is shown.
Yeah.
And then they did acid washes to bring it out, bring out the colors. And here, you know, you're walking along in the front. This is looking back towards all the white. There is the drafting area and the workshop, and the white canvas and the redwood framing made it look like a ship sailing in the desert when the wind would blow. Now this is you're kind of walking around, and then you go through a like a covered walkway or terrace, and this looks back at a view of the McDowell Mountains. Wright was very upset that the proposed power lines tarnished his view of these mountains, and the local authorities refused to change their plans for him. And it so disturbed Wright that he wrote to President Truman requesting that the power lines be placed underground. And Truman refused, saying it would create a precedent. And Wright said, "I've been creating precedents all my life." And then you kind of turn around, and then you walk through that open area, and you get to this area, you turn to the the right, you see this, and it's another pool and a fountain in the back of the structure, and the complex is similar to other Wright designs with multiple buildings connected by walkways, terraces, and courtyards. And this is a view of the bell tower. It rang 5 times a day, announcing the 3 meals and morning and afternoon tea. And now you're continuing down, but you're kind of turning backwards, and it's this is the pergola over the rear walkway, and to the right is of the image is the other side of the drafting area. And this is the last slide. Here's the boulder that I said was in the back of the structure, and there you can see the petroglyphs on it. I've been to a number of Frank Lloyd Wright houses, and I've been to this one twice, and I got a real good book, and I saw it on Amazon, so I'll put that in the link. It's a good price. And then there's a website that they call the 3D Lab, and it gives you, they did laser scans and everything. And so I'll put that in the links in the chat too.
Okay, well, thank you, Ken. And Jim.
Yeah, here I am. Am I seeing a picture?
Yeah, this is your first photo.
It's a house with the stairs going up to the second floor.
Oh, this is where you live.
Yes. But I'm trying to find the picture. Yeah.
So it's sort of like a light yellow house with reddish brown trim and a staircase.
Yeah, that's where I live. Okay. Now I found it.
Good.
Okay. Next. Another shot.
Ta-da.
Now this is the Soldiers and Saviors, Soldiers and Sailors Monument in Indianapolis. Built around 1900, and it commemorates the Indiana people who died in the Revolutionary War.
Well, maybe this.
I've got a list here.
It says 61.
The Mexican War, the Civil War, the Frontier Wars, and the Spanish-American War.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then this war, Indiana and the war with Spain is the next one down.
Yeah.
Got a nice angle on that one.
Thank you. No, I'm gonna show this to show you what the whole thing looked like.
Oh, okay.
Because what I have here is close-ups. They don't show the whole thing. Okay, next.
Okay, we're on the next image. This is.
Okay. Just more detail. It's one block from the state capitol. We were in Indianapolis to see the total eclipse, and we had a clear sky, and we saw it.
Okay.
Yeah, lucky.
Okay. This is the cha-cha with the W3. No. Up there it looks to me like there are wrecked cannons and other wrecked items of war. But I'm not sure about that.
It looks like another view.
I found out afterwards that my grandkids went up in the tower. I didn't even know one could do that. But I enjoyed looking at the detail in the lower parts.
That's the iron sculpture.
Well, it looked like it.
There's a camera on the flag.
I was wondering about that.
It's like looking back at us.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that. And I like these bears. See how the bears are holding on?
Holding up the
There
tower.
are a number of those on the corners. Pretty impressive monument. And then the state capitol is in the distance there.
Yeah.
More detail.
this a duplicate of one we saw earlier? I don't know.
I think it's a slightly different angle,
Okay.
because I don't
Yeah, it
remember
might
those
be.
things in those figures in the bottom.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And,
Okay.
and now, George.
Yeah, hi everybody.
Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you. Well, as you can tell from my accent and my last name, I was born in Greece. And this is the island of Paros, and you can see the typical architecture of an island. Most houses are painted white, and all the windows I see they're blue, and the roofs are orange. Next.
Wow.
More of them.
Again, a similar view. I see that some houses are not white, but this is a general rule. The houses are painted white with blue accents. Well, one of my favorite cities is Chicago. So I like to take shots at night. Many interesting buildings. The one on the right side looks like a corn cob. That my son lives at the top of the building.
Oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
Next. Another night view of Chicago. Next.
Oh yeah.
And this is well, the bin and a lot of the buildings and architecture is actually reflected on this piece of art there.
This is 2 blocks from where I went to high school.
Oh,
Oh really? Wow.
So is that like stainless steel, or what is that?
Yes.
It's chrome steel.
Okay.
They must polish it a lot, clean it a lot.
Yes.
Okay, and so I basically was looking for, some architecture that might be a little bit different from what everybody else was showing, and there certainly has been a bit of variety, but here's my take on architecture.
That counts.
So basically, what they do in Portland is they haul truckloads of sand from the beach and set it up in Pioneer Square, which is like a public square, and then people can get a little piece of land. I mean, maybe about 10 feet by 10 feet to build their sculptures, and then they judge it, and it's not very permanent. Well, just like if you did it at the beach, but and then people come, and it's a fun thing to visit. And this is one of the, you can see it says a master's sculpture, so I guess it won some sort of award or something.
It's kind of, I mean, they look large. It's be hard
They
to
are.
get that stuff to hold together.
The right combination of sand and water and
Yeah.
pressure. Yeah, they are large. I mean, you can see compared to people, they are tall.
Yeah.
Right.
How they do it, what they do.
And so anyway, that's my architecture.
That counts.
Yeah.
And now Steve.
Okay, what do we got? So this is the Working Kirk Memorial Bridge. You may know it by another name here in Portland. There was the contest to name the bridge, and the name that won was Working Kirk Memorial Bridge, but then they didn't name it that.
Working Kirk. Huh.
Yeah, Working Kirk was a saxophone player who died not long before the bridge was built.
Right, right. Yeah, I actually met that guy a few times.
Yeah, and then, you know, in Portland, I mean, they don't always obey their own rules, so they named it the Tillicum Crossing, which was an Indian name, because they thought that was more politically correct.
So this is the sculpture by Calder in Chicago. And it's on the other side of the same building is the famous Picasso, and the blue glass building on the right side is the downtown post office. And the building you may recognize in the background, the tan building, that's Chicago's old City Hall, where the Blues Brothers movie was partially filmed.
This one must be a bit hyper.
It is, and it was shot with a pair of cell phones. They were Samsung S4s, I believe.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's some bright colors.
Yeah.
And this is the Boterwaag in Den Haag, Netherlands, the old butter weighing house where the dairymen would bring their products every week to be weighed and sold. This is a little free library in Portland.
And for those not familiar, they have an awful lot of them in Portland. I imagine.
They have them all over the world, but this one happens to be in Portland.
That's
Yeah,
a nice one.
I see those occasionally around Vancouver. Whoa.
Okay, this is inside the Chicago Cultural Center, which used to be the old main library. And this is in the room where you used to go to pick up your books. You'd order the books, and they would go back and back. Some librarians would go up in the stacks and find your books and bring them down. They'd come down on this conveyor belt, and then the person at the desk would take them and give them to you. But now it's just a cultural center. It's like they have musical events and other things. And this is a bridge in Amsterdam with various architectural features. There's a bollard and a lamppost and the bridge fence. And this is a pop-up postcard that features Amsterdam architecture. And I just thought it made a great 3D.
It does.
I
thought it was a window display or something.
It's actually a pop-up postcard. And this is the Portland Buddhist temple on the east side. And that's the old Royal Palace in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And the steps you see on, going up to the left, that's the Dam Monument and Dam Square. It's in between. These are the famous dancing houses in Amsterdam. You see they're all leaning in different directions over the hundreds of years.
Yeah, they sure are.
And this is a 15th century Dutch windmill near The Hague. There's a reflection of some more Amsterdam canal houses.
Yeah.
And this is the Sandy Jug.
Right here in
Portland,
Yeah.
Oregon, yeah.
It looks like some unique architecture.
It is.
Yes, it is. And this was an interesting shot. I chased this rainbow down Sandy Boulevard, taking shots at different locations. And this was the last spot I stopped. And I had to literally hold the phone in the air, holding the shutter open, and run diagonally across the street to get this shot.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
And this is the other side of the building in Chicago. This is the Picasso, and you can see reflected. You can see the archdiocese. I believe that's the archdiocese.
Oh, yeah, I see it now.
And this is more Amsterdam. This is the Rembrandt line.
Okay, and now Mark.
Right. Now this is a detail of a house in the Cleveland, Ohio area. My wife was visiting some friends there, and we went to this park, and this house is there with these interesting archways, so it looked like it needed to be captured in 3D. This is the Whiteside Theater in Corvallis, Oregon, and it's got some pretty cool interior and exterior architecture. I worked there as a projectionist when I was going to college, and so the next shot is a detail looking up at the big logo, but then there's a face and some sculptures up at the top there too. I always thought it was called the Whiteside because it was white, but apparently the people who started it, their last name was Whiteside, so it's a coincidence that the bricks were white too. So this is a church, and in the background there's a schoolhouse. These were both in Bodega Bay and appeared in the Alfred Hitchcock movie The Birds. There were no birds flying around when we were there. Architecture was interesting, so especially the next shot is a closer one of the schoolhouse. It's got some really interesting windows. Yeah, this was one of the 3 remaining original McDonald's buildings. This was in Portland, Oregon. It was torn down a couple years ago. When the word got out they were going to tear it down, I had to get out and get some pictures to preserve it. So I believe there's only 2 left, or possibly 1 now, in the United States.
That's what they looked like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you could get a hamburger for $0.25 back when I went to McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah, some interesting architecture in those things. Yeah, this was just outside Salt Lake City. It's a ski resort where one of the National Stereoscopic Association 3D cons was held. This is the hotel looking down in the atrium on the one side. They had these pillars and many stories of glass windows. And this is a historic house built in the 1890s on the Oregon coast. It's near Fort Orford. And I, again, thought it had some pretty interesting architecture too. There's lots of little details around on the eaves and the overhangs there.
Boy, they don't build them that way anymore.
No. Interesting siding even there.
Yeah.
Are those like ceramic tiles?
I think it's wood, so I think they're more like shingles, maybe like wood shingles, but they're a shape that I've not seen before though. This is my favorite apartment building in Portland. It's on Hawthorne, about 36th and Hawthorne. And I have no idea what the story was on this, if the bricklayers were on drugs or if it was intentional, but it's just the craziest bunch of bricks you've ever seen. And it's been there a long time, so I'm assuming it was well built, but it's just strangely built, though. So I got several shots showing the details of the bricks on this.
Wow. Yeah.
Every which way, it's sticking out.
Those are clinker bricks. They're thrown away at the end of the day. Those are the ones that burned.
So those are the inside of a brick furnace, and the outside of the brick furnace was not very baked. And the middle of the brick furnace, the bricks are all perfect and nice and really nice. Anyway, yeah, that's the inside of the brick furnace.
What a great subject for stereo.
Yeah, the way they're sticking out so far like that, I'm surprised they haven't started falling off, but they've embedded them in there just enough to hold it all together, I guess.
I bet they're free. Back when they built it.
Maybe, yeah. I need to do some research and find out if there's a story behind this, or if it was just some odd builder that decided to try something different.
There's other residential homes in the area that have those bricks too, so it's a use of leftovers.
But are they normally laid so haphazardly like that, though, or?
I don't know if it's intentional, but maybe some of those clumps of bricks used in part of the process.
So that's just the way those bricks were formed. They're deformed bricks.
Yeah.
So they lined up the parts that would fit, and the rest of it sticks out.
You'd have to be a real good bricklayer to lay a wall like that and make it vertical.
That's what I was thinking too.
No place to put a plumb bob.
Okay, and David, open projector.
This is just a quick thing. We're having a family reunion in June, and I've decided that I would make 3D cards for everybody that would want to see them. That guy standing in the middle in the tall is my great-great-grandfather, and the guy with the big beard is my second great-grandfather. So that was taken sometime in 1860 or something like that. So I've converted it to 3D and made a card out of it. And that's my grandfather and his second wife. His first wife, he was married for 8 years, and then I think they didn't get along or something, I don't know. And he married this young gal, and that's my grandmother. And there's my grandmother and him again when he was about, it's about 12 years later. And that's my dad with the big glasses on the right. And the rest of those are his brothers and sisters. Anyway, there's my grandpa. He used to run a trucking company in Rock Springs, Wyoming, and I don't know how he got back in the truck, but I imagine he could squeak between those culverts and squeak himself in. And there's my mom and dad. 1935. And there's all us crazy kids. That's me with the camera, and the rest of my sisters and brothers.
And so, interestingly enough, this I believe was in the 30th anniversary book.
Yeah.
And how come the names aren't, the Allen family? I thought this was you were in there with the camera.
I used to call it 1948 Christmas or something like that. That's the name of it. But for the people who I'm going to pass these out to, it's important which family it is. So that's why the card's in the family name.
Okay, so is that you with the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, that's just what I've been doing.
Okay.
And so how do you share these with your family? Do you have a 3D TV or a?
No, it's going to be up in a higher part of Utah where I can't even drive my Tesla up there because there's no place to charge it up there, Anyway, I'm going to have a table, and I've got 4 image, what do you call it, stereo viewers.
Oh yeah.
And several of my friends, my relatives also have stereo viewers, and so I'll have these cards all set out, one for our family, one for my uncle's family, and all like that, and just let them pick them up and look at them and put them back down.
Got it. Like actual prints.
Oh yeah, I can make actual 3.5 by 7 slides of all these. This is just something to show you what I've been doing.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, and Carl.
Yeah, a few more pictures. Yeah, this is some Portland graffiti. You know, I didn't risk submitting this for architecture, but there's a neighborhood in Portland called Hollywood, and this is right across from the Hollywood Library. Yeah, so this was on the trip down near Bend, and I had put a coin out on the railroad tracks the day before with my daughter, and I was going back and looking for it, and I heard the siren, and I was like, oh boy, here it comes, you know. So this freight train was going full speed, really fast, and there's like a delay with the W3, so I had to like take the picture well before the train got to this point. And then I was kind of disappointed because it was so fast but there's no, you can't tell that
Right.
it's moving at all. And also this was early in the morning, and there's shadows, so like I would like, if I was going to take a train photo like this again, I'd like it to be so you can see the length of the train in the distance. So
I think the shadows add a lot to this image. You can come back to the same spot at a different time of day.
The stippling effect there, or the what would you, not stippling, but sort of dappled light on the train is kind of cool. And the headlights are on because it was kind of early, unless they're always on.
I think the trains always, their lights are always on. Yeah, because if it catches your attention if they're shining right at you. I mean, not that I would know because I don't stand on the tracks. I'll tell you,
but that close to a really fast-moving freight train, it gets your adrenaline going. But I wanted some motion, so then I turned the camera, and I had about 90 seconds to figure out what I was going to do. So you can use. So I aimed. It's on an elevated track, and so I aimed straight at the wheelbase, hoping that I'd get some of the forest peeking through and the blurred.
Hey, that's cool. You did a good job.
And it came out. So yeah, it looks good on this big screen. It might, like when I look on the camera, it's a little harder to see the trees back there. But
did you find your coin?
Yes. We actually put like about 5 of them out, and I found the first one real easy. And then I found about 2 or 3 more, but I didn't find all of them. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You don't have any idea why you couldn't find the other ones?
Well, they get kicked around, they get thrown around, and they also they turn, they're flat and sharp, and they turn sideways, and then they get like I think the gravel like rumbles, and they get down in the gravel sideways, so you can't really see them. So I spent quite a bit of time bent over looking for those until I heard and I brought my camera because I was going to take pictures of the rails.
Yeah.
And then I heard the train coming. I was like, okay.
So. I remember doing that as a kid too.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you've seen these before. This is at the High Plains Museum. I think it's called that, up in outside of Bend. And they have a river otter exhibit. And I spent. Have you been there?
Yeah. The High Desert Museum.
High Desert Museum. Thank you. Yeah. And there's actually a better photo that I wanted to take and I couldn't. So it's basically these river otters. They'll come by one at a time. There's 3 in the exhibit there, and they'll stand up. Like one will stand up on its hind legs and stand about 1.5 feet maybe above the water, and that was the photo I wanted to get, but I couldn't couldn't quite manage it. And I think in this one I had to zoom in just a little bit to there were some rocks that I wanted to kind of not have in there.
Looks pretty good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the look of the water in stereo photography, particularly in this image. It's so unique.
Thank you. And this is just like 2 days ago, walking through the Irvington neighborhood, and it's springtime, so I figured springtime photo. And this photo, if you look at it in 2D, it doesn't really make any sense at all. But yeah, but if you look at it in 3D, suddenly all the flowers and petals like come together and into this kind of cascade.
Dogwood.
Okay, and Jim.
These are fish in a pond near Orion, on the grounds place I live. Now you might recognize this book that she's reading, the book of Phantoms.
Yeah.
And this one.
Boy, you need to use stereo photomaker and get them back in the image.
Yeah, I was afraid that wouldn't be too good. Okay, next. If there is a next.
Good picture, but it's way out.
Okay, and now we get to see some eclipse photos from George.
Yes. Well, I moved to Cleveland in 1990. So I had an interest in astronomy, so I was aware of the two eclipses that are coming, the 2017 and the 2024. And my house, Cleveland, is right on the path of totality for the 2024 eclipse. So back in 1990, which is 35 years ago, I was trying to figure out how old I'm going to be, and I was wondering if I'll be alive, really. So I figured out I'm almost 65, maybe I'll make it. And here I am. So it was a big day for us. We were a little bit nervous about the weather, but everything worked out fine. Next, I decided to view the eclipse in my driveway. And we had a special visit. This is my daughter. Our daughter and our first grandchild. So that's the baby's first total eclipse. The baby's 8 months old, and maybe he will become an eclipse chaser, so he got an early start into this. Next. Okay, this is some of the equipment I used. My daughter is looking through my Sony camera and 400 to 600 millimeter lens. Anyway, it was zoomed at 600 millimeters with a solar filter. And my son-in-law is using my binoculars, astronomical binoculars, also with solar filters. So I was kind of prepared for that. I had 35 years to prepare, but I just waited until the last month. Next. Yeah, my wife had food for everybody. There were drinks. My son, everybody had a pair of binoculars. The guy in the back is a neighbor, and he's using this parallelogram mount where the binoculars are suspended in the air, and he can lay down in a gravity chair and have the best, really, that's the most comfortable view using binoculars, not just for the eclipse, but also for stargazing. Next. So I was I knew what I was going to do. I was going to take 10 images in the partial phase, then a bunch of images during the total eclipse, and then 10 more images in the second part of the partial phase. So I was running a timer on my phone telling me the images were taken every 8 minutes. But unfortunately, the book I read to get prepared was about 2D photography. I didn't really quite figure out the details about 3D, and it turns out taking the pictures 8 minutes apart will give you too much deviation. Next. So when I decided to Okay, well, these are some of the 2D pictures, the classic things, like the diamond ring, the last rays of the sun, just a visual effect, and the Bailey's beads, that's the topography of the moon, creates this effect. The little things you see are called the sun's prominence. You only see that during a total eclipse. And the sun's corona, which is the atmosphere of the sun, you can really only see it when the sun is blocked, as in the total eclipse. So these are unique things. I've never seen a total eclipse. That was the first for me. Next. I took this picture. It doesn't have a lot of depth, but this is the in front of our house. During the total eclipse, the street lights came on. And you can see the planet Venus is below the sun. Next. So I want to take a pair of the partial eclipse faces and turn to the stereo pair. The first thing I have to do, the movement of the moon is coming at an angle into the sun. I have to turn this horizontally to create the parallax. Next. So I just rotate the picture by 67 degrees, and now the moon is coming straight into the sun. Next. And while I was doing this exercise, I discovered that every pair has a slightly different angle. Actually, there's a 2-degree difference. It turns out from nobody really talked about these things while I was getting ready, but it's the result of the rotation of the Earth that creates this difference. Every 8 minutes, the Earth is rotating about 2 degrees. Anyway, next. This is a stereo pair created by a pair of the partial eclipse photos that I took. As I said, the deviation is about 8%, which is quite high. My next project would be to make a little collage of all the partial phases into small size. When you make this a small size, the deviation is acceptable. Next. And that's my last picture. Here I had to cheat because what happened during the totality, there was 3.5 minutes of totality. I took a bunch of pictures in the beginning and then I kind of took a break to enjoy the thing. Well, I should have taken the beginning and the end of the totality to create a stereo pair, but I didn't have this pair, so I just made a fake moon. Just a black sphere in front of the sun. This is what it would have looked if I've actually taken the pair, which I didn't. And I enjoyed the experience. The 3.5 minutes of totality went really fast. But I told my wife, I don't know, I think I saw what I need to see. I was thinking maybe to go to Egypt in 2027. There will be an eclipse. The totality is 6.5 minutes long.
Oh, man. Why would it be longer there?
Well, it depends on how far the moon is from the Earth and how far the moon is, you know.
Okay.
Well, yes, it depends on the moon, and also it depends on where in the path you are. In this eclipse, the center of the eclipse was in Mexico, and the totality was like 4.5 minutes. When we went up to Cleveland, it was down to 3.5, and then it goes down from there. So your location within the totality path and the distance of the moon with respect to and the sun with respect to the Earth will determine how long. The longest the totality can ever be is about 7.5 minutes.
Wow, yeah.
Well, thank you very much. That was a really interesting collection of photos. I really enjoyed it.
Did you guys see the totality in the 2017? Wasn't that through...
Yeah, so in 2017, it wasn't total in Portland, but about an hour south of Portland, it was in the path of totality. So my wife's parents were in the path of totality, so my wife and I drove down there. They have a farm, you know, a lot of space there, and we just set up chairs there and really enjoyed the totality. That was my second total solar eclipse. This photo, and this is not my photo. This is a photo of the 1979 total solar eclipse, and the person who took this photo spent, I don't know, probably weeks or maybe even up to a month driving around scouting out where he wanted to set up his camera to take the photo. And basically, you know, in the week before, he was checking the position of the sun at the right time so that he would know exactly where to point his camera. He had everything all set up to go. And you can see that it's a little bit cloudy, but basically the clouds broke at the right time, and he got, I would say this is a wonderful, wonderful photo. It was not stereo. I had this, I basically asked him if I could have the, the full size, image, which I then, it wasn't a digital image, it was, I think he scanned it for me because it was basically taken with a, film camera and negative, so he didn't trust me with the original, but he scanned it for me, and then Image 3D for a while, I think many of you have heard of Image 3D. They outsource a lot of conversions to China. So I talked to Rich at Image 3D, and he sent this overseas and had them professionally convert it for me. And then I gave Brian the converted 3D. So that was the trade. But this is just a wonderful photo. When he took the photo, he created some limited edition prints of the photo, which I purchased from him. Purchased one of his set. I don't remember how many were in his signed limited edition, but just a wonderful, wonderful photo. So actually, so I wanted to obviously see the total eclipse, and we were looking at the weather forecast and very concerned about whether it would be overcast or not. And so I knew somebody who was a private pilot. He says, we're not taking any chances. If you'll split the cost of the the plane, he rented a plane, and we basically flew. I didn't take any photos. I just enjoyed the spectacle. But we flew above the clouds, heading toward the eclipse, and a spectacular view from the plane. So that was my first total solar eclipse, and my second one was in 2017. And most people only get to see one, so I feel very fortunate that I got to see two of them.
Yeah.
And basically, when it came time to for this year's eclipse, once upon a time I did a lot of traveling, and since 9/11, traveling has become much less pleasant. And so I really had to think about whether I wanted to get on a plane again. And I just decided if I could be positive, absolutely, absolutely positive that we could fly to a place and have good weather, then I would tolerate the misery of being on an airplane. But since the time of the year was so iffy, I just said, I've seen two eclipses. I'm not gonna spend the time and the money and the misery to fly somewhere to possibly be disappointed by the cloudy weather. So that's my eclipse story.
Nice.
My eclipse story was I was not fortunate enough to see this most recent one, but in 2017 my wife and I drove south And I remember standing, we made this giant pair of eclipse glasses for our car too, just to be silly, and we had quite a fun experience there looking at the eclipse. My main memory of it was that the total darkness happened so quickly. I was expecting it to just keep fading and fading and fading, and when the shadow hit us, it just went dark really fast. So I do have one shot. The next shot shows the result of the cameras in the background on that tripod you can see there. And I did have to do a little Photoshop work because I had the cameras really were too far apart for what I was trying to do there. I should have done some research like George did, but I just kind of winged it. But this was the result. There was a power pole nearby where we were looking. So last time around, somebody asked if I had made any effort to get any of my 3D photos in front of Alice Cooper. And so I put a short series together here. Yes, I have actually done 2 of the VIP meet and greets with him. At one of them, I put some image 3D Viewmasters together, had them made specially so I could take them along and show him. And then I made some anaglyph posters, took those along to another meet and greet. So go ahead to the next shot. Part of the VIP thing was you can go backstage before the show. So here I am with one of the costumes from the production there. And you get to put your head in Alice's guillotine, so I had to have a scared look on my face there.
I often wonder how long the eyeballs of the head can see the inside of the basket before the brain doesn't know it anymore.
I don't want to find out.
Don't know about that.
That's stupid. Who cares?
So here's some of the image 3D viewers that I had taken along. Of course, I had to paint the trademark Alice Cooper eye lines on above and below the eye spaces on the viewers there too. But he enjoyed them. He was really happy to see them and has an interest in 3D apparently. So. Yeah, and I made extras to leave with him too, so he took them along. And actually, one of them recently he autographed and donated to. He runs a kind of a charity to keep teenagers off the streets. And it's called the Alice Cooper Solid Rock down in Phoenix. And so they had a fundraising auction, and one of the viewers was in that auction. And I haven't heard yet what it brought in, but I'm hoping it made lots of money for him. So, yeah, you can tell by his face there, he was pretty happy to look through them. Huh? And then when he found out we were taking pictures with the 3D camera, he says, "Oh, 3D!" So then we had a series of shots where he's sticking his hand out at the camera, and the typical 3D here. Oh, push stuff right into the camera here. And then we got to dance. We got to put our hands out toward the camera. So we're doing a dance here. And then at the other meet and greet, these were the anaglyph posters that I brought along. I brought a handful of glasses too. So again, he enjoyed those. In fact, the ones that I left with him, he said, "I got to put these up in the tour bus so we can look at them as we're rolling down the road here." So I don't know if he really did or not, but that's what he said he was going to do. So he definitely was interested in 3D. And my last shot here, he's choking up at the end of the meet and greet. So had to cheat with the frame a little bit and get my hand to come right to the screen.
You got to do that sometime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark, I enjoyed the article you wrote in the latest Stereo World about that.
About the storm?
No, about
about Alice Cooper?
Some about maybe that was the older Stereo Worlds about the. Yeah, the storm article was great. Yeah, I was thinking of the.
I still haven't got my copy, so I have not seen the printed result of it yet.
Yeah, that was great. There were Alice Cooper articles in the older one,
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so basically, what we're this is every April we choose officers and board members. We don't have a fixed number of board positions, so if somebody is interested in running for the board, we can have more than 2 board members. The board meets on the 3rd Wednesday of every month, and we basically plan the logistics of running the club. And if anybody is interested in running for either a board position or one of the officer positions, I guess I'll open up the floor for nominations. You can nominate yourself if you wish. And not hearing any nominations, I'm going to basically make a motion that we just elect this slate of candidates by acclamation. So is there a second?
Oh, I second.
I'll second that.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, well, congratulations or condolences. These are the officers for next year. And,
you did that very well. Hardly political at all.
Yeah. Well, we do often have lively discussions at the board meetings. We don't always agree, but we try and keep it friendly because, obviously you're not going to have unanimous, agreement on everything. But generally, I think we come up with good consensus decisions.
Yep.
So, next month, May 27th, is Memorial Day. Now, traditionally, we always meet on the 4th Monday of the month. So the 4th Monday isn't always the last Monday. For example, in April, the last Monday would be a week from now, but we always meet on the 4th Monday. Traditionally, we did not meet on holidays, and to this day, we don't meet on Christmas or Christmas Eve. But during the pandemic, we had not met in March or April, and the board was really sort of concerned that that we needed to start meeting again, and so we had our first virtual meeting on. Okay. Oh, who's Jim? Okay, so what happened was we met on Memorial Day. I think it was in 2020. I don't remember.
Memorial Day, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when it was, but we had a fairly good turnout, and so we talked about it at the board. We said, let's try it again this year. Since most people attend virtually, it's less of a commitment than having to drive somewhere, especially if you're coming back from out of town. But even if we don't have a high attendance, we'll try and have an interesting meeting. So we will meet on May 27th. The theme is geometry. And we will show part 3 of the video slideshow. And actually, I forgot, but on the agenda, we were going to show part 2. So what I'm going to do is just spend a couple more minutes looking at the upcoming events, and then I will show part 2 of the video slideshow. So just this is the June agenda. And basically in June we will select images for the folio. The theme is old buildings, which I guess is a little bit related to architecture, but it's not exactly the same thing. But anyway, so those are the agenda for the next 2 meetings. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen and show the let's see. This should be right screen to share, and I need to share sound, but of course Zoom, oh there it is, share sound. So I'm going to share the screen. It will be anaglyph because StereoPix doesn't let me share videos. So if you want to see it, if you're not on a Lume Pad, you can view the shared screen, or you can view it on a Lume Pad. So here goes.
say somebody really knows how to make a video.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a very nice collection of images too, across the different clubs.
Stop the screen sharing, and then basically at this point the meeting's officially over. But I'm happy to hang around as long as there's interest by anybody and discuss anything even vaguely related to 3D. So, one of the things I'm happy to talk about, a week ago from last Saturday, I attended the New York Stereoscopic Association meeting, and there was a presentation there by Daniel Pohl, who developed an app called Immer Gallery for the Meta Quest. And basically I had never played with either a Quest or an Apple Vision Pro, but I basically said, okay, it's time to get one. And so at this point, I've had it less than a week, but I'm just starting to learn about it, so hopefully I'll probably put some information in stereo views in some upcoming issues as I learn more about it. But basically it supports either a virtual reality or mixed reality. So the difference is virtual reality, you don't see anything of the outside world. It's basically you're looking through just the two lenses and seeing whatever it is. Normally, they have some apps that may present a full 360-degree view in either non-stereoscopic full 360 or even stereoscopic full 360. So you can look around in any direction. You can look up or down. There are hand controllers so you can move around in virtual worlds. The difference is what they call mixed reality. The cameras on the outside can see the environment that you're in and present a combination of the real world with superimposed, virtual world on top of it. So one of the apps that I got, which is very interesting, I don't play the piano, but my wife does, but it's an app for teaching piano in mixed reality.
Oh.
So what it does is the cameras see the keyboards and see your hands on the keyboard, and it basically puts either red or blue marks on the keyboard, red where you hit with your right hand, blue where you hit your left hand, showing you what keys to hit and how long to hold the keys down, including chords and all that. And so my wife was pretty impressed with that. So basically I'm happy to answer questions, but I don't want to monopolize the discussion. But basically, anything that anybody wants to talk about. So I'm just going to see if there's any interest in talking about anything.
Yeah.
Herb, have you used it's the Immer Vision? I forget the name of the actual app.
Immer Gallery.
Immer Gallery. Have you actually used the Immer Gallery app? To my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, I have a Quest 2 gathering dust on a shelf because I could never find any apps for viewing stereo photos. And it sounds to me like Immer Gallery is the only one that lets you do that.
Yeah, so Immer Gallery is actually an interesting app. What it does is it actually recognizes different formats automatically. So you can basically, and there are different ways to get your content into the Quest. One way is using Android file transfer. So what happens is it just basically you connect it with a USB cable to your computer, and then it looks like a hard drive, and you can just drag files into the downloads folder, and then Immer Gallery does recognize MPOs, but it also recognizes other formats, including 180 degree and 360 degree monoscopic or stereoscopic content. So it's almost, I say almost because I have enough other stuff, but almost enough to make me want to get a some sort of stereo camera that allows a fisheye lens to be mounted. And they give some examples in the documentation, but I'm not ready to spring for that. I'll let other people capture it. But they do have some sample images that you can download that include both 180 degree and 360 degree 3D images. And so one of the things, because I commented, I said, okay, here's a feature that I want. I want a filter feature so that I can basically say, I only want, because different images that they supply are in different folders, and I don't want to look at anything that's not stereoscopic. So just turn on a filter that anything that's not stereoscopic don't even show me, and then a separate filter that I only want to see something that's either 180 or 360. Because if you just look at an MPO file, it's like looking at it on a big curved screen, like maybe an IMAX screen, but it doesn't fully wrap around. It's not.
Right.
It's perhaps a 90-degree, screen. It's not as immersive as a full 180 or 360.
Interesting. So how does it compare, for instance, to a realist red button viewer or a ViewMaster in terms of the quality or the immersion?
Okay, like a ViewMaster to me, I have some ViewMaster sets, but ViewMaster has always been a disappointment to me.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
See you next week or next month.
Next month.
Good night, guys.
Yeah,
Herb, I don't want to keep you up all night, too, so we can continue this later.
Actually, I'm happy to stay up. It's the East Coast folks who, are up late, but I'm happy to hang around as long. It's not that often that you can get into a group of fellow enthusiasts and just talk about this sort of stuff. And first of all, I don't want to monopolize if somebody else has questions or things they want to talk about on other topics, but if not, I'll hang around as long as there are people here and answer questions or talk about it. But basically, like the ViewMaster really is, first of all, the resolution isn't that high, and second of all, the field of view isn't that wide. Right. So this is like a whole different world. So one of the things, and actually this was not an image from ImmerGallery. There are other apps. I don't remember what app this was, but it was a free app. It wasn't something I had to pay for. So it was a free app and free content, and they had, you could basically go, maybe it was ImmerGallery, I'm not sure. I don't think it was, because what you could do was you could get into a hot air balloon. And so one of the things about ImmerGallery is their static images, okay? But some of the content is not static. So you can basically stand inside a hot air balloon and look down. But if you walk forward, you're actually now standing in midair, and you can look down, and your feet are just suspended in midair instead of on the floor of the balloon. Okay, so they have, it's actually spatial awareness, that it's not just a single capture. You can actually walk around in 3. So I've actually purchased a couple of apps. I'm not going and purchasing, every app I see, but I purchased Mist. Now, I was never able to solve Mist when I ran it on a CD-ROM, back 20 years ago or 25 years ago, whenever it came out on a CD-ROM. But this is just a whole other thing, because compared to the CD-ROM, you hit a key and you'd be in a different location, whereas there are a couple of modes that you can use with the Quest. Number one, you can be sitting down, and you can use the joystick to move or turn. So you can just be sitting and slide the joystick, and the further you push it, the faster you're going, and walk around Mist, and it's actually like you're walking around instead of jumping from one location to the next. But the other thing you can do is you can use it standing up and actually walk around in the mist game. And I will tell you, it was very unsettling because because you'll get to a hill and you're on a flat floor, and as you're walking on the flat floor, it's showing you walking up a hill, and it's almost like you're ready to put your foot down, but you're not hitting a solid surface, and your foot goes down all the way to your flat floor instead of, where it would go if you were on a hill. And so it's almost like I wasn't feeling steady walking around. So I actually ended up playing the app from a seated position.
So I want to throw something out that before the pandemic, there was this small company in downtown Portland called Uncharted Realities, and they would rent. You could go in there and pay by the hour to use a virtual reality headset with friends, play games, do art or whatever. And what I noticed from that was that if you tried walking, you would get nauseous pretty fast, or if you tried moving while you were seated still. But if you teleported from one place to the other, or you picked one position and then interacted, like they had games where you would shoot arrows at things that would come at you, and you could play with other people. And there was like a Star Trek game, and with people from around the world would play different players and things like that. But I haven't seen the newest stuff with the highest resolution.
It's very impressive. So now, basically, people probably see the elliptical in the background there. I get on the elliptical and exercise, every day, and I also have some weights there that I work out with. But I mean, for somebody who, like, for example, there's these kickboxing things. There's apps. There are exercise apps. I haven't purchased one. I'm not interested in one. I'm happy with my exercise routine. But there are exercise apps that you can play on that. And this didn't cost. I was able to download it for free. Some roller coasters that you could ride. And even though you're sitting, you can almost, get nauseous on some of those. I would. And I've ridden roller coasters, but in some way, sitting in one place and feeling like you're moving is more unsettling than actually being in a coaster that's moving, because you're getting conflicting signals between your eyes and your sense of motion. But and then there was a toboggan run. It was evidently the longest toboggan run in the world. I don't remember where it was, but I rode, in virtual reality, rode down that, and that was quite an experience. And that wasn't as unsettling as the roller coaster, but
that sounds pretty compelling.
It's so there are 3 models. There's the Quest 2, which I don't know if it's just dropped to $200 or if it's always been $200. But the Quest 2, what I understand is it doesn't have as much room, so it's difficult to fit over glasses. And it doesn't have color pass-through. It only has black and white pass-through. And the resolution isn't quite as good. And it's the older model versus the Quest 3, which was $500. And it has color pass-through, higher resolution, and it fits without any problem over my glasses. And so it just seemed, okay, if I'm going to get into the virtual reality, spend the money and get in. I mean, within reason. I am not interested in spending $3,500 on the Apple Vision Pro. But $500 on the Quest 3 seemed like a reasonable amount to spend. And they also have what they call the Quest Pro, which is an older model than the Quest 3, but has some more professional features than the Quest 3. And that's $1,000, and it didn't seem to have anything that was compelling to me. So that's why I went with the Quest 3.
The Vision Pro, I heard that if you have an Apple like 15 Pro,
yes,
you can take videos, but it doesn't do just pictures.
That's what I've heard. Yes.
Yeah. So, not sure why that is, but I'm sure all these things will work themselves out.
I'm sure that And so basically, it just doesn't make sense to me to spend $3,500 on.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, when you compare, I mean, is there $3,000 in more value that you get from the Apple than the Quest? I seriously doubt it. And Immer Gallery is not available on the Apple device. I haven't tried it yet, but Immer Gallery, you can actually use the camera to take, I believe, 180-degree 3D photos, but not videos. But I haven't played with that. I haven't found anything sufficiently compelling. I mean, there's nothing in my house that I think I don't really want a 180-degree photo of that. So, I mean, basically, I'd have to find, maybe going, somewhere, to a park or something. I'd find something that I'd say, okay, now it's a good time to play with it.
Well, thanks, Herb. Good to know.
Yeah.
That's quite a pitch.
I'm gonna head out, Herb.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Take care.
See you, everybody.
Hopefully, don't forget your.
I got it right here.
Okay.
I take this.
See you next month.
Yeah.
See you. Bye bye.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Thanks.
Good night, Peter.
Peter.
I'm gonna drop off myself. I gotta get up in the morning, but I did want to say for 3D, for Blu-ray 3D collectors like myself, 3D movie fans, I got a tip. HamiltonBooks.com.
Okay.
Sells discount Blu-ray 3Ds. And I picked up some titles. They were about $5-6 each. No classics, but they're getting harder and harder to find. So I got the Meg, I got Shazam, X-Men, Apocalypse, Pan, which was okay, and a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie I'll probably never watch. But for collectors like me, they're still out there. HamiltonBooks.com.
Okay.
Well, they are great. And if you have trouble finding the 3D images, do a search on 3D movies or 3D blank.
Good tip. All right, with that, I will leave everyone. Good night. Thank you, Herb. Thank you, everyone. See you next month.
Thanks, Matt.
Goodbye.
Hey, Herb, I got a question about the eclipse, your 1979 eclipse memories there. I was in Corvallis for that one, and I do recall it getting fairly dark while it was overcast, so we couldn't really see what was happening up there. But do you recall where the path of totality was? Did that come right over Oregon, or where was that?
It did come right over Oregon. I believe in Bend, you would be in the path of totality. I don't remember exactly where I was. Brian's photo, I'm fairly certain, was taken in Oregon.
Okay.
I saw it in Kennewick. And I know Goldendale saw it too.
I was in Corvallis, and it got dark enough that the streetlights came on, but like I say, it was overcast and cloudy, so we couldn't see the sun at all.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. So it didn't come through Portland, so I had to, drive to Eastern Oregon. I mean, I don't think it was a huge trip, basically a couple hours in a car to wherever we went.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's another one coming up in, 2044 and 2045. There's two more coming. So.
Well, or you could travel internationally, but...
True.
Yeah, anyway... okay.
I wanted to point out that I'm giving away a lot of 3D stuff.
Yeah, so you had asked a question, Jim, as far as the books. If you bring anything 3D related over, I mean, actually I shouldn't say anything 3D. I'm not interested in film cameras or film projectors, but if you have any books or magazines and you bring them over, I will give a first pick on anything to the club. So in other words, the club could basically say, yeah, I want this and this and this and this, and the club gets first pick on it, and anything that the club says, no, we don't want, I will take second pick, and anything that neither I want nor the club wants, I will offer to anybody else in the club who wants it. So,
well, including Stereo World magazine, I have a lot of them.
Yeah, because basically, yeah, I mean, maybe I should say, how many boxes of stuff is it?
Well, I have several boxes of stuff total, but the magazines are about one so-called banker's box.
Okay, that's no problem. So, in other words, because what'll happen is, the club has an incomplete collection. So any issues that the club is missing, I'll let the club have first pick on those. And then anything that the club doesn't want, if it goes back far enough, it's probably stuff that I don't have.
Well, John Dennis told me years ago that he likes to have old issues. So after you pick them over, you can give them to him.
Oh, I would be
happy if he still wants them.
Yeah, I would be happy to do that. So basically, my collection only goes back to about 2011 or 2012. So anything before that, if the club doesn't, if the club doesn't,
yeah, I've got stuff well before that.
And then if you have actually books, I would be interested in those too.
Okay. How about Holmes cards?
I'm not interested in that. Mark, are you interested in any of that for the library?
We have a plastic container full of ones that the various club members have made, and they're all grouped together. Jim, are these homemade ones or commercial ones?
Both.
Oh. Okay. Well, I guess we could add them to the stack there.
Okay, well, I'll bring some of those.
Okay.
And you also mentioned that you wanted a copy of the 30th anniversary booklet. So order it online because basically give me a day to get it printed and bound before you come over and pick it up. But
okay. What's the price of the deluxe one again?
So there's on the deluxe one, there's 3 choices. You can get the standard edition, which has 2 photos. I think it's 2. Well, it has a few photos with nudity. The uncensored version has an additional 2 nude photos that were omitted from the standard edition because a few people thought they might be too risque for some people.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah,
And
I'll
then,
take the uncensored one.
right, and then there's also a what I call an all audiences one for somebody who's a prude and it has no nudity at all. So
For prudes only.
For prudes only. So I think the greatest number that I've sold have been the uncensored. There have been a few that have been the standard edition, I think, and one was the all audiences version.
And then there's the choice of the wonderful paper or the cheaper paper.
That's correct. So the cheaper paper is just printed on regular, 8.5 by 11 copy paper.
Well, I want the good paper one.
Yeah, the good paper one is really, it's acid-free glossy paper. It's a little bit heavier weight. It's very nice paper. Mark has one of those. He can comment on that.
Yeah, the image quality is really good, and the paper makes it even better with this. It's like the glossy finish to it there. Yep.
Okay.
And
what's the price of that?
So the member price of that is $37, and I mean that's really like the break-even price. We're not making any money on it. The paper is $25 for 100 sheets.
Oh.
Just for the paper.
Wow.
So.
Okay, I'll order that online and then I'll pick it up whenever I come with the stuff.
Okay.
I also have TrueView. Are you interested in some of those?
Are those cards or what's TrueView?
No, it's a film strip.
No, not interested. I don't know. Mark, are you interested in that?
For the library, you mean? Or
yeah.
It's almost like UMass. I mean, it's a different format, but it was like national parks and scenic kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if, I mean, I'm not in charge of the library. I just kind of maintain it, but I don't know if we want to start.
No, I mean, we don't have anything to view it with anyway, so.
Well, I might give you that too, but maybe not. Okay.
You're probably better off seeing if you can find anybody who wants to buy your TrueView and then give them the media with it. Because if you just have the projector and no media, you're not going to find anybody who wants it, probably.
Okay. So, either of you going to Wichita, Kansas?
No, I'll make that one.
Yeah, so once upon a time I used to do a lot of traveling. And then 9/11 happened and they made the security procedures more unpleasant. And then they said, oh, and we're going to try and get, closer packing on the seats, and we're going to charge you for carry-on baggage. We're going to charge you for checked baggage. We're going to charge you for anything other than a middle seat. And I said, no, I'm not interested. So I don't travel anymore.
Yeah. The last time we flew, I noticed the seats were pretty close together.
I used to love hopping in a car and taking a road trip, but my wife has decided she's kind of done with her road trip days, so we haven't done much of that either, or else I'd probably make a plan to drive back there.
Yeah, so I used to, basically my limit on driving was San Francisco. I could do San Francisco in a one-day trip without staying overnight anywhere. So in other words, what I do is every time I needed to get gas, that would also be the time to take a rest stop and get something to eat and hit the restroom and stuff like that. And so probably do it in 3 stretches. In other words, drive for maybe 5 hours, get gas and something to eat, drive for another 5 hours and get something to eat, or maybe 4 hours and then do another few hours. But I don't do that anymore.
I'd rather stop every hour and a half.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't do that. Basically, if I stopped every hour and a half, it would take me forever.
Oh yeah, okay.
But I'd still rather do that. I mean, I hate driving a truck. I mean, this year is the last year. I mean, I basically told Western Display I'm retiring after this year.
Okay.
So, basically, because when I'm driving the truck full of fireworks, it takes me 50% longer than driving a car. Because every time I'm going up a hill, I'll have my foot to the floor and it's getting slower and slower, and all these cars are passing me. And when you're driving hazmat, you can't drive the way you would drive a car. So.
No. I suppose.
And plus, the heavy lifting to set up the shows. It's just. I'm too old for that.
It sounds like time to retire.
Yeah.
But it's been fun, right?
Oh, it's been a ball, and basically, Mark will have one more opportunity to shoot some video, and maybe get another edition of the Blu-ray out.
I feel embarrassed that I still haven't got around to last year's, but I've just been crazy busy fixing up a house, so I'll have to come out with 2 episodes at the same time, maybe eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love your fireworks videos.
No, thank you.
That's the way to see fireworks, rather than the show itself.
Yep.
Watch your videos.
You definitely get the depth effect that way.
You definitely get, well, I mean, but when I'm shooting a show, I don't even see what's going on up in the sky. I just, and I mean, the video shows some of what I'm seeing, and it's pretty spectacular, but it's not the fireworks.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 2 shows a couple days apart, and so I'll do video at one, and then the other one I'm actually on the crew, and like Herb said, you can't even see what's happening in the sky when you're lighting those. You're just looking at the next one to light going down the row. And
I suppose.
It's good to watch the video afterwards to see what happened there.
Well, Herb, I'm glad you're willing to be president again.
Well, it's actually the serving as the president isn't the hardest thing I do. Probably the hardest thing I do is getting a stereo views out once a month.
Okay.
Because so basic. I mean, what I'm doing as president, I'm responding to email. I'm doing a lot of miscellaneous stuff, but basically it's putting the show together and running putting the meetings together and running the meetings. But that isn't, it's more an administrative thing. In other words, people email me stuff. I just compile all the stuff together and create the Stereopix rooms and the YouTube stream. But putting stereo views together, then I actually have to go through all the images, and what I want to be doing is take at least one image from every person who's submitted images to share. I want to make sure that everybody feels that their contributions were appreciated. So, even if I mean, they're not award-winning images. I still need to select the best image from, everybody who submitted something, and then make it fit on the pages, and sometimes things will be too small or too narrow. So I'm moving images around to make them fit, and then coming up with the stories to fill in the. So, thanks, Mike. Take care.
I'm gonna drop off too. Good night, everybody.
Okay.
Okay, good night. Thanks for running the show, Herb.
Okay, well, you're quite welcome. So I'm glad that, thanks for renewing. And hopefully...
it's a bargain.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I think I'll,
it said I could renew for 2 years, but then it didn't seem to be an option.
Sure it was. It should have given you an option. There should have been a pull down menu. If you want to renew if you want me to change your renewal from a 1 year to a 2 year renewal, send $10 via PayPal to treasurer@3dpdx.org.
Okay.
No. Yeah, treasurer. What is it? It's 3dpdx. Let me just make sure. Okay. What I'll do is email me and ask me, and I will make sure to send you the correct address to basically, and so what you would be doing is you would be adding, so it was $25 for 2 years, and so what you would be doing is you would be just sending the additional money to.
Okay. I can do that when I buy the book.
Well, not easily, because the book if you tell me what book you want, let's do it this way. You said you want the uncensored deluxe.
Yeah, $37.
And your son is going to pick that up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is 37 and 10, so it's going to be 47. So I will send you an email, and then if you send me a PayPal for $47, the best way to do it is as friends and family, because then we don't pay a PayPal fee.
Oh. I don't mind paying PayPal something.
Well, okay. I mean, basically, what happens is if you do it as merchandise, then PayPal deducts what they give to CSC. But you can do that too.
Okay.
But anyway, I will send you an email telling you how to send in the $47, and then I will know to print the uncensored deluxe book for you.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay, have a good evening.
Okay, same to you. Good night.
And if there was anything was there anything in the chat? If there's anything in the chat that you want, save it before you leave the meeting.
Well, I'll look and see if it is.
Well, save it first, because once I end the meeting, it's going to go away.
Okay, there it is.
Okay. So, have a good evening.
Okay. Record